What's up, crypto geeks, and welcome to another video. I have a ton of news for you guys. I wanted to let you guys know as soon as I could. I was hoping to release it a bit earlier, but I wasn't able to manage to do so. But I have a ton of news in relevance to what's going on between the SEC and Ripple, and a ton of stuff about what's going on with the market as a whole. Let me start by saying right now XRP sits at about $1, Bitcoin at about $38,000. With that said, please click that like and subscribe button. It helps with the YouTube algorithm and pushing the video, and I really appreciate it. So click that like button and click subscribe and make sure your notifications are on. With that said, we're going to be talking about a lot of the stuff in regards to the lawsuit between Ripple and the SEC. And you know everything I tell you is not legal or financial advice, and that you always have to do your own research when you're looking at investing. So yesterday there was a ton of new releases of documents between the SEC and Ripple, and actually the first document I talked to you guys a little bit about, and it was about the judge declining both Ripple and the SEC's motion in relevance to that seal. Those two motions, if you remember the videos I talked about prior, were sent in seal, and the SEC tried blocking Ripple from sealing the documents, and Ripple tried to block the SEC from sealing documents, and the judge was really upset, and at the time said she declined both motions and said you need to talk to each other, you're not children. And it looked like the judge was really upset with the dispute, as she wanted to speed up the process. The next response was from Ripple, and actually it was a really positive response, and it made me really happy. And it was that Ripple and the SEC had finally came to a conclusion that they were going to talk about things, and they were going to deal with all the little details and not going to burden the court with those unnecessary little disputes. So that was great news. It was very bullish news, signaled that Ripple and the SEC could come to a settlement very soon. And the deadline, they wanted an extension for the deadline until June 9th so they can sit and talk. All very bullish, all excellent news, pointing to settlement days after, hopefully days in the coming days. Another positive bullish news from what had come out yesterday was that the SEC had their meeting, their sunshine meeting, and it was focused on discussing a possible settlement that the SEC were going to have with people they were filing cases against. All very great, positive, bullish news. The only real, not really a down effect, but there wasn't a significant change in the price of XRP, with all this support and bullish news. But not to worry, XRP is known to suddenly spike and reach the moon all of a sudden, but everything looked bullish. Now, suddenly in the middle of this amazing bullish trend, and everybody excited about the growth that's going to happen, and a very close settlement, probably, days or maybe even hours away, as the meeting was only hours away, a new document was just suddenly released by the SEC. And what was the SEC asking for in that document? The SEC, after 2.5 years of investigation, and after 6 months from filing the lawsuit, suddenly realized they need 60 more days of discovery. And cherry on top, Ripple was completely against it. And SEC sent that letter requesting the extension to the judge. Now you can imagine, and we haven't heard a response yet, and I'll talk a little bit about, there is some speculation as possible, the rumors of a response, and I'll tell you what those rumors are, but nothing's yet confirmed. But you can imagine from the judge only hours before declining two motions and telling them that you need to talk, and suddenly, only hours later, she gets a letter from the SEC asking for an extension. Remember, this is the same judge that worked over the weekend to release her decision on a recent discovery hearing. She's trying to push this case as fast as possible. And the nice thing is she's a smart judge. She knows the tactics that the SEC tries to play, or maybe trying to play in cases like this, of trying to delay it as much as possible. Because guess what? The delay is hurting Ripple 100% more time, 100% more than it's hurting the SEC. Particularly, the judge knows this very clearly because there was just a discovery hearing. Yes, she granted SEC, but remember that discovery hearing about the SEC seeking requests from international companies? Ripple's whole fight was the SEC is using this to try and hurt Ripple's business, which this plays into the exact same thing as that. Yes, she granted the SEC at the time with some requirements, but now she's starting to see that this is playing out more. The even more frustrating message, or more frustrating thing about this new letter is who wrote the letter. It was written by the new lawyer. Which lawyer? The lawyer that everyone was talking about as an expert in settlements. So what is happening here within the SEC is the question on everybody's mind. Are they looking to settle, or are they trying to fight this case as hard as they can? And what is 60 days going to do for them? Now, I'm going to tell you what I think about this, but before I do that, there are some speculations and rumors, and they're unconfirmed and probably lies, but no one knows, but that this has been declined already, because this was sent yesterday, and that the judge instead gave him a week. Now, I don't believe that for real. I'm not certain about it, but it's a rumor that's out there. So, there's a 2% chance that's true. If it is, that's excellent one for Ripple again. But I want to tell you what I think is happening behind the scenes here. SEC is definitely the one losing so far. Now, we're still not at court. We're still in the discovery phase. Everybody's trying to see what the other party has, how much documents, how much cases they can get, what evidence they have, what evidence they don't have. So we're in that stage. But that's the stage where parties evaluate their position. They can start to tell, are we on the winning or losing end? And it's very clear. I think any lawyer, Jeremy Hogan's does amazing videos, and he's explained this. But it's very clear that the SEC right now is the one at the bottom, and Ripple is ahead. And there's actually not much that that SEC has. In fact, maybe they thought they could get some paperwork from their international, by using their government strength and getting paperwork from international partners and agencies and companies. But you know what else Ripple just requested? Ripple just requested, not Ripple, that, Brad and David. So, the people that are being sued here, Ripple, they requested that the United States court, seeks documents from their international trading exchanges. Which means what? So all of the exchanges globally, or not all of them, most of them, that sell XRP, Ripple is saying, give the court the documents that you have about all the sales. Now, if the SEC is trying to sue them because they're saying all these sales were illegal, and you're the person defending saying they're not legal, and you say, you know what, here's all the paper, check it out. What does that tell you? That tells you they're confident of their positions. They know. What also it tells you is they have, now this case sits on 3 fundamental arguing points for Ripple. The first point is they lacked fair notice. The SEC didn't give them notice, and they're winning that, right? There's no document against them. The SEC has not proven at any point that they provided notice. The second main arguing point is they're not a security. So Ripple is trying to fight that, but we haven't seen too much documentation yet. The third point is it's outside the jurisdiction of the SEC. And guess what's going to happen, or what's going to show up in the international exchanges, is that most of the sales for XRP were not in the United States. Which means what? It's out of the jurisdiction of the SEC. So this is now, Ripple has strong sitting on 2 major arguing points. So if they lose the fair notice, they still have a very strong position that the SEC has no jurisdiction over those sales. And they have a position on them not being a security, but that we haven't gotten too much paperwork about. So with that, like I said, what I think, so right now, the SEC's tactic is to try and strengthen their position for a settlement. I talked about this, guys, very, very early on. I said, if you want to negotiate, and I think any lawyer would agree with me, if you want to negotiate, you have to try and negotiate from a position of strength so that you can get the most out of your opponent. Now, the SEC has nothing, and what I suspect is SEC is asking too much from a settlement. I'm almost certain that a settlement has been presented by the SEC to Ripple, but they're asking way too much. So I imagine Ripple's response is, we're not going to give you all of that. You're losing. What are you talking? Like, why would we give you all of this and you're in a losing position? So how does the SEC pressure Ripple? They think Ripple may accept it if Ripple was pressured, by using the delay tactic because it's hurting their business. So if they get this extension, now throughout this whole 60 days, one is the SEC has more time to search for other documents. Two, they're hurting Ripple's business. Another thing, if you look back only days ago, what did the SEC do? They requested more documentation on 6 other people from Ripple. Why? Why didn't you ask about, from them before? Again, it's a delay tactic by the SEC to pressure Ripple even more. All of this is prolonging the case, which is hurting Ripple's business, which is pushing Ripple to give the SEC whatever they want for a settlement. I think, though, they're not going to be successful. My prediction is this is going to get denied outright. I don't think there's... Maybe this thing is about a week, it being denied. Maybe it's right. But I guess, my guess would be this judge is way too smart, and now she's probably even more upset with the SEC than ever. And what I can also imagine, although a little, it's not as big of a percent, is that she may say to the SEC, look, you filed this case 6 months ago, you did 2.5-year investigation, and you're telling me you're not ready? Then you shouldn't have a case. She may dismiss it. I don't think it's a very likely case, but it could happen. It's especially with the way she's been responding to the both parties, particularly with the SEC. She's been frustrated with them because nothing seems to make sense to them. They're bringing the same argument over and over and over again, and they're being unresponsive to talks. Regardless if Ripple hates the SEC or SEC hates Ripple, their lawyers need to be professional in their conduct with each other. They need to have professional communication. A judge can't deal with the little minute-to-minute details. Otherwise, what would happen is the case is going to take 30 years to solve. And that can't happen. The system can't handle that. Even just recently, I was reading a report. The SEC is still giving Ripple trouble in those discovery documents, the internal documents that were granted by the judge twice. You remember that? Okay, the discovery hearings? The judge... Ripple won, and they got access. They're supposed to have gotten access to internal documents. The SEC went back and said, no, you didn't say all documents, and they went into court again, and they argued again, and the judge once more said, you have access to internal documents. You have to give them those documents. You have to give them those memos. And there's still, to this point, I was just reading a report document that the SEC is still being neglectful on some documents, and Ripple is again threatening to go back to the court for the 3rd time. Imagine the judge's frustration. I'm making a decision. I've made a judgment on this case, and you're still not following it for the 3rd time. What can the judge do in this case if her frustration reaches, the top level there? Is dismiss the case, saying, you know what? You don't want to listen, and you file this lawsuit? You don't deserve filing a lawsuit. You don't know what you're talking about. Case dismissed. And I think that percentage of that happening is going up and up and up and up every single day. So let's hope something, I think in the coming hours, something big is going to happen. One last thing, and I'm going to close it with this. I've been talking so much, guys. I'm really sorry. But last thing, and this is big. Elon Musk just put out another stupid tweet about Bitcoin going down and Dogecoin. People are interpreting his tweets in whatever way. But he's trying to manipulate and play around with the market. But there's something I noticed, guys. Look at the price. The price dropped for XRP to 93. Within like under an hour, it was back to $1. Bitcoin barely affected, went down like $1,000 and then it went back up. He's not having as big of an impact as he was having before. And I think every single time he makes a stupid tweet like what he's been doing, I'm sorry, Elon, if you're listening, I don't think he'd be listening, but regardless, this market manipulation is just a joke, but he's not making as big of an impact as he was. It looks like there were some people that suddenly, oh my God, Elon Musk just did something crazy. He said Bitcoin is whatever, and it crashed it. They all sold at the same time, but there wasn't a lot of them because the price quickly jumped back up. But it's just that second they seen the post, and that second the price dropped. But XRP still at around that dollar mark. We're doing okay. Listen, XRP been between $1 and $1.05 for like almost the entire week. So, I don't see those ranges of 5 cents as real growth. I think we're going to get real spike real soon once someone starts to figure out something. And I think in the coming hours, depending on what happened in that Sunshine meeting, we will see that spike. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a bit of a long one, but there's a lot I had to talk to you guys about. Make sure you click that like and subscribe button. Let me know what you think is actually happening. Are they going to settle? Is the case going to get dismissed? Is Ripple going to fight all the way until they win? Tell me your thoughts in that comment section. And if you really want to be an amazing supporter, make sure you share this video on your Twitter. CryptoGeek out.